Charlie's Christmas Wish could have been an emotional, powerful film, but unfortunately it wasn't. And there are two main reasons why I didn't like this. I will say the second half of the film, maybe the last third, is significantly better. Not enough for me to turn around and say, actually, it's a good film. But as it goes on, it does get a little bit better. This was released in 2020. It's written and directed by Sue-Ann Taylor. And we have a cast including Aiden Turner, Toni Hudson. We have a beautiful dog, an absolutely gorgeous dog. This is, of course, Charlie. And at the start of the film, Charlie is adopted. And Charlie is one of the reasons why I didn't like this film. It's not the dog's fault, but the dog talks. Well, we hear the dog's inner thoughts, so it's like the dog has a voice. And ordinarily, when it's a fun comedy, a light-hearted film, that's great. That's fine. I have no problems with that. But this is a bit more of a drama. It's more serious. There are some really heavy moments. And we have these heavy moments, then this dog's voice will just come over the top, and it's just really ridiculous and gimmicky and out of place. This is neither the time nor the place for this. There's nothing wrong with the actual voice acting in any other film, or if this were a lot more light-hearted, if it were a comedy or a children's film, absolutely fantastic. But this was not the right approach to take. And Charlie does have quite an important role to play, and that wouldn't have changed if we didn't hear Charlie's voice. So they absolutely didn't need to include that. And honestly, Charlie's voice adds nothing. It's just annoying, and this is not the right film for that. It feels very gimmicky. The other reason I didn't like it is that the narrative's just completely all over the place. And I'll talk more about the narrative in a second. But I'd say at least the first half is just a bit of a scattered mess, to be honest. But it does start to go in a direction, probably from the time we meet the character of Hank. I won't say anything about Hank, as I really don't want to give away what I consider to be the only good part of the film, the only moving part of the film. But I'd say from the time we meet Hank, he's played by Vernon Wells, things start to pick up. And Hank is a really, really likeable character. The others, not so much. It follows the story of John Frost, who returns home from deployment. He finds that his wife and son have adopted this dog, Charlie, and he's not a very likeable character. I didn't care for him at all. And, well, I'm stuck because nothing happens in the first half of the film. And, as I said, things do start to happen once we meet the character of Hank. But that's much later on in the film, so I don't know how much to tell you, because ordinarily I would never discuss what happens from the second half of the film, because that starts to enter quite heavy spoiler territory. So what I will say is that it starts to look at support for veterans. And that's a really important topic. And generally they're quite heavy and emotional and often uplifting and inspiring. And there are moments like that. But then the dog's voice will come along and it just shatters it. And they just made a really poor decision with the dog's voice. I'm not saying that had the dog not had an internal voice, it would have been a good film, because it still would have been very badly written. But the second half could have been really moving. In fact, I'd say the second half was pretty good. Not amazing, but and not enough to save the film overall. But I would say there were moments where I actually enjoyed it. Basically the scenes with Hank and a couple of other little scenes here and there. Scenes with Jimmy, played by Walker Mintz. I liked his character. So there were a couple of good moments in the second half. Not really any in the first half. And I say the first and second half, I didn't time it, but roughly we were heading towards the end. Definitely after the midway point when things started to pick up. So I don't know if I recommend it or not. If you're looking for a good, enjoyable film, no, not at all. But if you're particularly interested in stories about veterans, then it might be worth watching. Because occasionally, in my opinion, they do that right. There are some moving moments, and Hank is a really strong character. I really liked him. If you're looking for a cute film about dogs, well, it's different. Usually when you look for a cute film about dogs, they're fun, they're quirky, they're light-hearted, they're entertaining in a very comedic way. And unfortunately, that's not the case. Visually, the dog looks very cute. And the dog is in it quite a lot as well, so that works well, I guess. But also, that's a bit of a hindrance because that means the dog is thinking out loud quite a lot as well. So, I don't know. I kind of don't recommend it if you're looking for a dog-based Christmas film. The marketing for this is very deceiving. The poster, at least on IMDb, and I think when I watched this I bought this on YouTube, I rented it on YouTube, I think the artwork there was the same. It's the adorable little Charlie in a little Santa's sack. It looks like a fun, adorable Christmas film, and it's not. That's not at all what you're getting here. But you're also not getting a particularly moving, sentimental, emotional film either, for the most part. So I don't know, if you're really into films about veterans, or if you just want to look at the cute dog, it might be worth checking out. But in general, apart from a few scenes and the character of Hank, Charlie's Christmas Wish really doesn't have a lot to offer. I feel like they tried, but I think a lot of bad decisions were made and it needed much better writing. It has potential, but unfortunately it doesn't quite live up to that potential.